I want to tell you a little about the plight of the Dalits, a community of 200 million fellow human beings in India, the so-called Untouchables. They suffer from discrimination under the caste system, which has dehumanized them. You will see in the episode of life what it means to be born into this community. India was in the forefront of the struggle against apartheid. We believe that the Indian people would want to end the scourge, which is a plot for humanity in this new millennium. Let us work together to end it.
India today has nuclear weapons, a computer industry, and its very own Hollywood-style film industry. It has an extremely rich upper class and a huge middle class. But it also has 200 million poor outcasts or Dalits, stigmatized from the day they are born and who suffer massive discrimination. Veerasamy lives in a small village in southern India. All the inhabitants here are outcasts. Veerasamy's job consists of doing the washing for the 19 families in the village.
Ma.
When I go and collect the laundry, I ask why we have to do this. We have to do it because we belong to this caste. People say we will be reborn, and that's the reason why we must do it.
And the outcasts themselves are subdivided into further groupings. The washermen and women belong to the very lowest scale of this hierarchy. The only payment Veerasamy receives for his work are leftovers from the meals other inhabitants in the village have already eaten.
Old people usually say that it causes you no harm to do this kind of job. They say that in the end you will go to heaven for having done this.
Do you believe that?
One would have to die to find out.
Veerasamy's family have been washermen for generations. Coming from the lowest caste in Indian society, it's their destiny. His wife Desam and their 3 children help him do the work.
If we had our own land, we would be happy. We would not depend on others. But we don't have our own place, and we have to be very servile and obey orders. If we had our own land, we would work hard and do something else. For instance, we could open a fruit shop. But we are dependent on others, and that's the reason why we have to live this way. If you are rich, it's no problem.
Discrimination based on caste has been prohibited by law since India first gained its independence in 1947. But the 200 million outcasts in the country are still being oppressed, still discriminated against. Many have left their fingerprints on contracts which make them indebted for the rest of their lives to people from higher castes. Often, too, the outcasts, or Dalits, are caught up in working conditions that are more like slavery.
This is very dangerous work. You can hardly avoid being hurt, but we have to work. The stones cut me on both my arms and my legs. Look at the scars on my legs and here. But we tolerate it because we are fighting for our lives. We are fighting the grim reaper. It is hard and a dangerously deadly job.
Mr. Kumar and his family are bonded labourers. They owe money to the owner of the quarry.
During the rainy season, the stones are buried under the soil, and my manager says we must dig them out. We have to dig out the stones and cut them to pieces. If we don't, we receive no payment. I can't go anywhere else because we have been paid in advance. So he would claim his money back before we could go anywhere. If we only knew how to make more money, we could choose to do something else. We have to work like slaves to survive. We have to work like slaves to earn our daily bread.
Hassan is 12. He's the son of outcast parents and has worked in the silk industry since he was 8. He's just one of approximately 100 million child labourers in India.
I work 10 hours a day from 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. without lunch.
And including lunch?
That will make 10 hours.
And you work how many days a week?
All 7 days of the week.
You don't have a day off on Sundays?
No.
You don't have Sundays?
No, but we get the day off when there is a celebration of some kind, for instance, Deepavali or Amavasya. We have 10 days off for the harvest festival.
Do you like working in a weaving mill?
Yes, sure. Once you have learnt it, it's not difficult. They only go on at you in the beginning until you have learnt it. Then it's fun to work with a loom.
In the West, there's been a lot of publicity about child labour, and the owners of big textile factories are wary of giving interviews to human rights organisations or Western media. But the owners of small weaving mills are not so defensive. Do the children come from poor families?
Yes, indeed, all of them. Rich people don't work in this industry.
Are the children Dalits?
Yes.
It's hard work, isn't it?
Yes, you have to be alert all the time. It's not like driving an ox cart or working in the rice fields.
I don't care about my next life. If I can't be happy together with my children in this life, how can I then dream about the next life? I can't send them to school, or give them a happy life, or give them enough food. Why am I in this unhappy situation? When I was a child, I wasn't happy, but now I see that my children aren't any better off. Is this their lot to life?
The Indian caste system stems from Hinduism, and about 80% of all Indians are Hindus. If you're an outcast, a Dalit, it's because you've led a bad life in an earlier incarnation. This is your fate, and you have to put up with it. According to Hinduism, man has more than one life, and if a person behaves well in his present life, he can be reincarnated into a better one. Prabhakaran is a Brahmin priest and belongs to the highest caste.
Each caste has its particular kind of work. Take me. I'm a priest. I couldn't carry out the work of a carpenter or a bricklayer. Every person has his own trade.
एक एक शेरी बाबू मेरा दिल ले गया चोरी चोरी प्यार वाला मीठा मीठा रोक दे गया चोरी चोरी प्यार वाला मीठा मीठा रोक दे गया चोरी चोरी एक शेरी बाबू हाँ एक शेरी बाबू
Mani is the owner of the quarry. He visits the stonemasons every day.
We work, but the owner doesn't pay us sufficiently. Prices go up, and so we want higher wages. But we are told that first we have to work off what we have been paid for. When we have paid our debt, we are free to go somewhere else. There is no other way out. What else can we do? We work like slaves, but where else can we find work? That is why we stay here.
I don't force them to stay. You can go and ask them yourself. I haven't forbidden them to go and work somewhere else. They work here because they want to. They follow their hearts.
How many of them have borrowed money from you?
They don't borrow money, they get their payment in advance.
Has everyone received payment in advance?
Yes,
How much have they had in advance?
20,000 to 30,000 rupees. But they work for them. If you borrow 1,000, you work for 1,000.
1,000 rupees is about $24.
We get about 20 to 30 rupees a day. After 8 days' work, we receive about 100 to 150 rupees. Let's say we spend 50 rupees on a bicycle, then there is only 100 left. I have a big family. There are 5 mouths to feed. And 1 kilo of rice costs 10 rupees.
A week's payment of 100 rupees is about $2.40. Hinduism makes a distinction between clean and unclean people. As outcasts, the Dalits are regarded as unclean, while people within the caste system are considered clean. Clean people mustn't touch unclean people. This is why many of India's 200 million outcasts live in separate villages. And it's why the unclean Dalits are also known as the Untouchables.
Even if it is 12 at night and we have come all the way to Madras by bus, we must take off our clothes and wash ourselves before we enter the house. Outside, there are many people and some of them are unclean. But we have to be clean at all times. If you want to enter our house, you must wash your feet first. Some might say, but we washed our feet before putting on our shoes. Why must we then wash them again? But you have to wash them before entering.
The outcasts come into the temple even when they're not allowed. They can't understand why they're not allowed in. What's your view?
Even when we explain it to them, they won't understand and accept it. It's unbelievable. They say that they are cleaner than us. They say that they doubt that I have washed myself in the morning. I have holy ashes on my forehead, but they could just put on some of it too. They have this silly attitude.
They refuse to accept the situation?
Exactly.
It is our destiny to wash these things. That's why we have to do this work. We wash the linen by hand and return it. Even linen used at childbirth and during abortions.
At the washerman's, the pre-washing is now finished, and the family can eat the leftovers which Dasan collected in a pot in the village and brought down to the river.
एक शेरी बाबू मेरा दिल ले गया चोरी चोरी एक शेरी बाबू मेरा दिल ले गया चोरी चोरी प्यार वाला मीठा मीठा रोक दे गया चोरी चोरी प्यार वाला मीठा मीठा रोक दे गया चोरी चोरी
அவங்க
My wife also comes from a washerman's family. They do the same work as we do, so we don't have family problems. If she was from another caste and if she disagreed with me, she might regret marrying me. But she doesn't belong to another caste, so there is no problem.
The laundry has been steamed for 1 hour and the family is ready for the big washing program of the afternoon.
I go to work because my family is poor, other children are not poor, and their parents are sick. But I have to work.
If the boys fall ill, their parents ask me to lend them 500 rupees. We also pay them an advance of 2,000 to 5,000 rupees before they start working. If they have problems, we help them.
It's Assam's responsibility to repay the family's debt to the owner of the looms.
We were paid 4,000 rupees in advance and they reduce it by 200 every month.
200 rupees or $5. Do you get more than that?
No, only 200. Yes, 200 only.
We can't ever pay back our debts because when we borrow 300, he writes down 400. Maybe we will have to be here for the rest of our lives.
So you'll have to remain in slavery?
Yes.
Their children are the stonemasons' only hope of breaking their chains. With help from a local organization, the children are able to attend school a couple of hours every weekday. By learning to read, write and do arithmetic, they'll be able to take the first steps towards changing their destiny. But it's a long and difficult road ahead, and one made harder by the repressive reactions of the authorities whenever the outcasts attempt to protest.
Before, the outcasts didn't come here. But today, 75% of those who do the cleaning here are outcasts. They also move the statues round.
But they work here?
Formerly, when we were on our way to the temple, the outcasts would step aside for us and take off their scarves and shoes in order to pay their respect. Now they rub shoulders with us. They have changed. We used to put things out for them outside, which they would come and pick up. But now they simply stretch out their hands and want us to put the things directly into their hands because they say they are cleaner than us. They wash themselves twice a day.
What do you think of that?
I don't want to comment on that. It's very difficult. I don't speak to them and I don't give them anything.
Of that which you've been sacrificing?
When they enter, I go out.
I don't want my children to grow up and have these kind of problems, this kind of work. They should learn as much as possible. If only somebody would help us give them an education, then we would support them. But with this work, it is impossible for us. We wish for them to get a better education. We don't want them to end up in this job. If only they could study, they would do something other than this. This work ends with me. I don't want them to do this.
Kumar and the other stonemason families have the afternoon off. They cannot work because of the nearby blasting in the quarry. However, not all Dalits are prepared to go on being treated as social and cultural outcasts in India. In the summer of 1999, thousands of Dalit labourers from the tea plantations in the state of Tamil Nadu mounted a demonstration for higher wages. As in previous cases, the authorities' reaction was to clamp down. These pictures from the film Death of a River, showing the labourers' demonstration, were screened 3 months later in a small cinema in Madras. The film was subsequently seized by the police, and the owner of the cinema was arrested and imprisoned under Indian censorship laws governing commercial feature films. Police brutality cost 18 lives.
We are 19 families here, and we stick together. We have no problems or disagreements. Some of us are related, but we are like one big family. We listen to each other. We also respect what the children say. We live in harmony with one another and respect each other. We don't argue. Our extended family doesn't work like that.
She's adding sambar. Actually, this is not sambar.
If I worked faster, I could make 1 month's pay in 25 days. If I did, I could provide for my family. If I was paid 1,500 rupees, I could pay the bills and the hospital bill and still save money for my own weaving mill and find a house and make it fitted for the weaving activities. There should be room for it. We could start out with 1 room, later we could buy another one, then 3, then 4, and so forth.
In terms of rights, a washerman stands alone. There is only one washerman in each village. If somebody supported me, we could fight for our rights. But there is only me. I am left in the lurch. If you want to achieve something, you have to be either rich or be in a group of many people. I am neither.